Before you go ahead and try to deploy a resource connector in the Docker, I would highly recommend checking out this link. This is available in docs.sse.cisco.com. I'm going to provide a link in the description. It gives you a small introduction here about the deployment options that you can find here as well. In short, you can deploy it in AWS or Microsoft Azure, VMware ESXi, or the Docker container. And in today's video, we're going to talk about deploying the RC in the Docker. Now here it also tells you what a resource connector is. A resource connector is a lightweight service that manages the network communications for a private resource. Now, this link is extremely important to go through before deploying the connector in the Docker. One of the main reasons is that it gives you the requirements for this, what you can do and what you cannot do. What are the VM requirements? It gives you right here in the support host operating system. Secure Access supports Ubuntu Server LTS 2204 x64 only on the host machine. It also tells you to not install Docker on the host. The Secure Access set up a script, which is setup underscore connector.sh. It installs the Docker and the resource connector software packages. I'm going to show you all of that. Don't worry about that. And as mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description for this particular page. Feel free to go ahead and check it out. And I would highly recommend going ahead and checking it out before going ahead and deploying a connector in the Docker. So let's go ahead and start the configuration. All right, so the very first thing you need to do is go to the Secure Access dashboard. And on the left-hand side under Connect, go to Network Connections. You'll land on Connector Groups, as you can see right here. It shows you connector groups and then network tunnel groups, and we are interested in connector groups. All right, so you're gonna scroll down and then, okay, my connector group right now, my connector is disconnected. So let me just quickly fix that. All right, so the connector should be up. Let me just go ahead and refresh the page and we should be good in a moment. Let's see. Okay, now it is connected, so we're good. I'm gonna show you how to get this done. So let's go ahead and click on add the option that you see right here, right? All right, so let's begin by giving it a name. So I'm gonna go with Ubuntu connector test. I'm gonna select the nearest region. I'm gonna go with India West. I'm gonna say next, and then now this is extremely important. Now in this case, we're gonna select Docker container. Let me just highlight it real quick. Now there's a scaling calculator, as you can see right here. It tells you for planning purposes, estimate the maximum volume of traffic that connectors in this group must handle. The app connector will need to be scaled in accordance with your throughput needs. Now the UI here provides you a calculator to help determine the amount of connectors that are going to be needed based on the anticipated total throughput between Cisco Secure Access SSE and the private applications. Now, this is simply a calculator and has no functional impact. It lets you understand how things are going to look in case you increase the number or you decrease the number and so on, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and say next. Well, of course, you're going to need DNS servers to go ahead and resolve the FQDNs of your private resources. Well, this is where you do it. This is where you mention the DNS servers that will be used to do that. So the FQDNs of your private resources that are connected where this connector group will be resolved by these DNS servers. That means you can go ahead and add multiple DNS servers in here. Now, you can mention this option right here and then go ahead and keep adding it, right? Now, detailed information about the same is available here in the docs. I'm going to put a link in the description where you can go ahead and read about it. For example, it tells you can add up to 5 DNS servers and domains with a total of 50 unique domains and so on. Ton of information. Please go ahead and go through this link of the docs. Again, I'm going to put that in the description. I'm going to go ahead and say save. Now, once it is saved, the one that we created is this one right here, Ubuntu connector test. And now if you go ahead and click on this option that you see right here, connector download image, if you click on it, it'll take you back to the page that I showed you in the beginning of this video, i.e. you don't have an image to download directly from this link. Like for example, if I go ahead and click on this, it will download the connector image that then I'm going to go ahead and deploy in my VMware ESXi. Now in this case, we're going to go ahead and run through a couple of commands to go ahead and get it done. And if, as I mentioned, if you click on this, it's going to take you to the page that I showed you in the beginning of the video. So another important thing is this provisioning key. Go ahead and copy it because this is what we're going to need while we're trying to deploy the resource connector in the Docker. Now, once copied, let's go to our Docker container. This is the Ubuntu server I'm going to go ahead and use to get it done. Well, it's already done on it. I'm going to show you the commands that I ran basically. For those of you who don't know or want to have the same setup, want to go ahead and deploy an Ubuntu server in their virtual box, as you can see, the Oracle virtual box, please go ahead and follow my video where I have shown each and every step to go ahead and get this setup done. All right, so let's jump to the Ubuntu server 2204. All right, so I've logged into the Ubuntu server. The first thing you need to do is run the curl command that is available in the docs as well. So you can say curl-o and then mention setup underscore connector dot sh, then mention HTTPS and then colon // us dot repo dot acgw dot ssc dot cisco dot com /scripts /latest /setup underscore connector dot sh. Now, you don't need to type all of this. This is available in the docs. This is from the very first link that I showed you in this video. So if you don't want to type all this, just go ahead and copy it from there and then hit enter. Okay, so it's going to download that image. Okay, there you go. Now this curl command is basically used to get the secure access resource connector setup script, which is the setup underscore connector.sh. Okay, now the second thing you'll need to do is you'll need to change the permissions on the script. How do you do that? You run chmod and then plus X, and then mention the script name setup underscore connector dot sh. Hit enter. It's done. Now go ahead and run the setup underscore connector dot sh script. You can do sudo dot / and then setup like this. Hit enter and then provide the password. Okay, I hope that's right. Hit enter, and there you go. Installing necessary packages. Well, it's already done for me, but anyways, I'm just gonna go through with the steps anyways, right? So let's wait. Let's see how long it takes. Okay, it's still doing its thing now, obviously. Well, because I've already installed all of this, there are no dependencies, pending or any such thing. Control C if that works. Yes, because it's already working for me, right? So I just want to quickly check this. My Docker is still working. We're looking good. All right, so now we need to go ahead and run the connector script. Now this is extremely important. Again, this command is available in the docs. If you don't want to type it, you can just copy it from there. So sudo opt, so you can say connector /install. I hope I'm typing it correctly. And then you got connector.sh. I just press the tab key to autocomplete it. Then you have launch, one of the commands that it supports. Then you got the name, and this is where you mention the connector name, which in my case is Ubuntu connector test that I configured in the SSC dashboard. So I can just mention Ubuntu connector and then test. This is the name. And then after this, you need to go ahead and provide the key. So you can say key and then paste the provisioning key here. Now, I'm not going to do it again because obviously it's not going to let me do it. That's again mentioned in the requirements that is available in the link that I showed you in the beginning of the video. How many times do I need to repeat that? So we're good so far. Once you do this, go back to the SSE, right? So after successfully running the connector.sh script, you'll find that your Docker, your resource connector will try to communicate with the secure access. And then what you need to do is go back to the secure access dashboard. And here you need to confirm the connectors. You'll see a button here because in my case, I didn't run that command because of the obvious reasons that I mentioned before. Just go ahead and click on that. And then after that, go ahead and assign private resources to the connector group. Obviously, that's important as well. But let's say you face a problem. There's a problem with the provisioning key that you mentioned or any other troubleshooting that you need to perform. Well, let's take a look at a couple of commands that you can run to go ahead and troubleshoot if you find any issues with your resource connector in the Docker. Let's go ahead. Now what I've done here is I have created a commands file that I use to, quickly refer to the commands. I can just quickly show it to you at commands.txt. So these are the commands that, if I want to refer to quickly, I can just go ahead and use these. So with the sudo docker, it lets you know about the current, state of the Docker container. As you can see, I just executed it. It told me that, it's been up since 36 minutes. It gives me the name, when it was created, and so on, the status, blah blah blah. So a lot of stuff in there. Now, if you want to go ahead and get the version of the Docker container image, what do you do in that case? You run the second command that you see there. So you do a sudo and you do a docker, docker ps, please ignore the background noise, and then format, and then mention curly braces here, and then dot, and then image, and then go ahead and close the braces, and then go ahead and this, hit enter. Now it tells you right there that this is the version of the Docker container image. Now, if you want to go ahead and stop the Docker container, what do? You run the third command in there that you see. You do a sudo, and then you mention opt, and then you mention connector, and then you mention install, and then you mention connector.sh, and then simply stop. Hit enter. It's stopping the resource connector. Now let it complete. You don't need to do that. Obviously, I'm doing it in my lab, so I don't have a problem stopping it and starting it a million times. Nobody's stopping me in my lab. Well, obviously, I won't recommend you doing it. Again, if I go ahead and run sudo docker ps-a, you see it's not there. Why? Because it's stopped. It's telling me that there's no process, no Docker running at the moment, right? If I go ahead and now restart it, there's no command to obviously restart. I can say start, hit enter, and it's going to start. And then I'm going to check the status again. Now it says starting connector and starting connector service in 25 seconds. And the other stuff as well. Again, it tells you the image name here as well, and so on. So let's go ahead and check the status of this process. Let's wait for it to complete. And as it said, 25 seconds, done. Now, if I run this command again, it tells me, okay, this is running since 29 seconds, up 28 seconds right there, right? So we're looking good with this command as well. So I'm going to refer to that again. And then as you can see, it gives me a destroy command as well that I've saved in this text file. Now this destroy command will be used to delete the container. However, I don't want to do it. Okay, is there a restart command? Well, I remember somebody asking me that question. Now this is running, the resource connector is running at the moment, right? Now if I go ahead and, for example, try a restart command, it tells me right there that this is not a supported command. So what are the supported commands? The supported commands are H as in hyphen H as in help, launch, stop, and then start, right? So it is running right now, and it doesn't like the restart command. The commands that it likes are mentioned right there, and gives you other information about the launch command as well. Well, if you remember, we ran the launch command in the very beginning where we mentioned the name of the key to go ahead and run the connector.sh script. Now, how do we troubleshoot? Well, there are two commands that it provides. One is the diagnostic command and the tech support command. Go ahead and troubleshoot problems. How do you do that? You go ahead and mention OPT this way, and then mention connector, and then go ahead and mention data, and then bin, and then go ahead and mention diagnostic and hit enter. There you go. A lot of stuff right there. If you see any problems, it's going to pop up somewhere there towards the end of this command. And there's a tech support command as well that you can run using sudo and then the same thing, except the last one, obviously. So opt connector and then data and then bin, and then it's going to be tech support. Hit enter, gives you a ton of information there as well. Now, these are the commands that you can use to troubleshoot any problems on the Docker container. If you are not comfortable with these commands, you don't know what it means, well, you cannot read the output, go ahead and share it with the TAC engineers, and they'll be able to help you out with it. Extremely capable. All right. All right, so I'm going to say no. Oops, my bad, sorry. Enter, yep, perfect. Here. Now, as mentioned, the Docker container only supports those commands that you saw before, the start, stop, and launch. However, with the Docker itself, I'm talking about the Docker, not the resource connector, right? So with the Docker, you obviously have the restart command. With that, you can go ahead and start or stop, obviously, right? So for example, what you can do is if you run the Docker ps-a, okay, my bad. I'm gonna say sudo, hit enter. Now, for example, it gives me this information. The container ID is what I'm interested in now. It gives me the container ID as 30bf 5513 DEC. That is what I can use to go ahead and restart this specific Docker. For example, I can say Docker and say restart and then mention that ID in here. Okay, now once you go ahead and paste the Docker container ID here, go ahead and hit enter. Permission denied. Again, I'm sorry about that. Let me just go ahead and say sudo and sudo, hit enter. Now it's going to go ahead and restart this particular Docker container ID. And this way you can make sure that you're not affecting the other Docker container IDs as well. So, okay, great. And now if I do this command, it tells me it's been up since 4 seconds. So there you go. Now this is a way to restart in case you don't want to go ahead and stop the resource connector and then start the resource connector. You can go ahead and restart it this way. There are a ton of stuff you can do, but again, if there's something that is risky, I'd recommend not doing that. And in case there's anything specific that you want to do, but you're afraid to do it on your resource connector, well, obviously you should be. If you're not doing it in the lab, just get in touch with me via comments and let me know, hey, this is what you want to do. If there's something that you want to specifically test out and you don't have a lab, but your Docker container is in production and so on, there's some risk involved or whatever. Just get in touch with me with the comments section. Let me know that this is what you want to do, and then I'll try my best to go ahead and try it in my lab and get back to you with the results. Thank you so much for your time on this video. I hope you have already subscribed to the channel, like, share, comment. Thank you so much. Have a great time ahead. Goodbye.